Hello and welcome back to my channel. The video from 2 weeks back about the Wonder Tape has created quite some feedback, some enthusiasm from people, many people leaving comments and questions and also sharing some experience with that tape. And based on all those comments, I decided to make a follow-up video to cover mainly 4 points. One is the durability of this tape compared to the Shaper tape. 2 is the topic of delamination. 3, I want to share a little tip that somebody left on how to reduce the fiddliness of removing the tape before you apply it. And then 4th, I want to talk about how people outside of the US and Canada, Europe and other places of the world can get this tape for a reasonable price and not like very expensive shipping costs. So let's start right now. A few people left questions about the durability of the tape. Not about the adhesive, but about the durability of the surface. When you move over the tape, without destroying it, but you move over the tape with your shaper. Now for Shaper Origin users, we know that like you have the normal paper tape, and once you move over that tape a couple of times, it starts to wear off. And like small white spots start to emerge because it just rubs off. And if that's big enough, then the Shaper Origin no longer recognizes that piece of domino. So that's normal. And the question is the vinyl more durable than the paper? And honestly, I didn't know that because I hadn't tested it. So what I did is I did a little test. I put 3 stripes of Wonder Tape and of Shaper tape on a piece of wood, and I just moved over those multiple times in one direction, multiple times in the other direction, just simulating wear. The same amount of passes for both tapes. And after that, you see on this picture how the tapes look. So you see there's wear on both. Both the Wonder Tape and the Shaper tape have some places where the tape is kind of worn down. For the Shaper tape, you see there's a few places where there's like these white spots that I mentioned, where basically the black paint of the domino has worn off. For the Wonder Tape, it's a little bit less pronounced, but there's a few places where there's like almost like dirt, but it looks a little bit different. So what I decided to do is to scan the tape and see how many of those dominoes are recognized. And here you can see that out of this 15 domino pieces for each Shaper and the Wonder Tape, 2 dominoes from the Shaper tape are no longer recognized, while the Wonder Tape, all the 15 are recognized. So what is the conclusion? I think it is a little bit more durable than the Shaper tape, but it's not massive, right? So it is, yeah, if you see like 15 dominoes, we lost 2 with the Shaper tape, we didn't lose any of the Wonder Tape, so you can do the math. And I think that makes sense because the vinyl is a little bit harder than the paper and therefore a little bit more durable. So much for the durability for the ones of you who were curious. The second topic is delamination. And delamination is a word I didn't even know before. But in my previous video, I kind of wanted to talk about it, but that word was missing. Delamination in the context of the Shaper tape is the following. When you have the Shaper tape, you have the sticky part of the tape sticks to the lower dominoes, right? And normally when you just unroll it like here, everything works fine. But sometimes the adhesive is so strong that when you take it off, it rips out a part of the domino below. And that is a real pain. Because not only are you losing, obviously, valuable dominoes, but also you need to start fiddling around and stopping this to happen, because else you just open it up and it just delaminates your entire Shaper tape. So you need to start cutting it and like with a knife and just trying this to stop this. And once you achieve it, you typically lost easily 10 to 15 dominoes and you can start using it again. So this delamination is basically the different layers of the tape sticking to each other where they shouldn't. And one viewer said, like, if Wonder Tape doesn't have the delamination issue, then that alone makes it worth the price difference. Because the amount of time that he has spent fiddling around with delaminated shaper tape, and also the amount of tape that he lost, would totally justify the surplus. Now, I have no other way than to explain to you that delamination is not a problem for Wonder Tape, than just telling you. Because obviously for the Wonder Tape, the tape doesn't stick to itself, right? It has this stripe where the adhesive sticks to, and there's no way that this can delaminate. There is just no such thing. Also, it is vinyl, it is not paper, so therefore the material it's not the same material, doesn't consist of these layers. So delamination is no problem for the Wonder Tape, that's for sure. Now it's up to you to decide if you think that's worth it or not, but so much for delamination. The third point is a tip that a Shaper Origin user left about how to reduce the fiddliness. You remember I said it's kind of fiddly to take this piece here, stripe off when you start. You need to have longer nails and so on. And so what he said is a little trick that is really neat, which is like once you open it up and it's fiddly, when you just stick it to your workpiece, and when you cut the shaper tape, you cut it at the right place, but you only cut the tape. So let's say here, we cut the tape, and this here is still long. And this, instead of cutting it exactly where you cut the tape, you just cut it in another place. And now here, you have this left, and you can very easily then open it again. Like a really easy trick, but I love it because that will make my life easier. The fourth topic is shipping. Shaper Origin users from Europe have complained that the shipping from the US to Europe is way too expensive. Examples were like $80 or $100 for shipping. That's obviously a deal breaker. Therefore, I have talked with Mehrdad how we can solve this, and we have decided that I will sell those tapes for him in Europe. He will ship a box over to me, and I am putting them on my Etsy store where you can buy them. It's going to be a tad more expensive compared to the price that you pay in the US because we need to account for the shipping costs for them to get to Switzerland. So it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but still way more affordable than if you buy it directly in the US and buy those expensive shipping costs. Little service from me to the Shaper Origin community because I love you all and I think this is an awesome tool, and if we can help each other, that's great. And to make it extra sweet, I am going to add one of my freshly baked Don't Rush beanies. For the first person who orders one of those tapes will get one of those beanies just as a little goodie. I started by ordering 20 of those tapes to see how long this lasts. If this sells quickly, I'll just order more, but I didn't want to order like a big box and then I have just like dozens of those tapes laying around because I don't need that much. All right, I hope you liked this little video. Second video about the Wonder Tape. If you did, thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and see you around.